What's going on, guys? My name is Commander, and welcome to League Center for February 1st, 2017. Finally into February, have a lot of really awesome things to talk about, though I have some disclaimers I want to get out of the way right off the bat. Number one, this week and next week will be really light on what leagues are covered in the weekly recap stuff, due to the fact that we're going to be changing over to a brand new system of showing off the results. And that will take some time, and starting now gives me plenty of time to do it, because not next week, but the following week, I believe it is the 15th if I'm not mistaken. The 14th or the 15th of February. It is the 15th of February. There will be no new League Center. That's because that weekend before, I will be completely gone and completely busy helping out with a college honor band. And so what I'll be doing instead is rerunning on my channel the January 15th episode on House Infinity's channel. That'll be the one that I'll keep on the playlist as well, where we interviewed Bandit Caterpie after he won his IDL Season 2 championship. So that will be coming up then. Next week will be an awesome interview. I'm not going to tell you who. Let's get straight into the news right now. This is a really good news week, in all honesty. Lots of info from Zastel League, because Dash didn't do that last week, so he caught himself up this week. All-Star, so similar to how sports teams work, there's an All-Star game for Zastel. However, it's interesting. So 5 Pokemon already on each side. The East has Zygarde 10%, Mega Pinsir, Klefki, Milotic, and Quillfish. That's some of the best from the East, and then some of the best from the West is Scizor, Mega Charizard Y, Jolteon, Jirachi, Salamence, and Kartana. And there's a link, there was a fan voting, basically the Zastel community voting on who the other Mon should be. There was one Mega per, as you can see, there's one Mega per team. And I believe the coaches that should be doing that is AJ, coach of the Vancouver Cydex, and Blue doesn't want to do it, but Blue, coach of the Miami Tapu Finis, that could potentially turn into another coach doing that. Also, the awards race, just looking at some of the awards. Pedro and Twong are neck and neck for Man of the Year, after Twong beat the undefeated Blue, and Pedro coming back from doing some awesome games, beating 27 himself. And you'll see. Out of the West, right now, it is Blue, Pedro, Dash, Twong, and Cal making the playoffs. And in the East, it's Oaks, Techno, AJ, No Johns, and Cheat making the playoffs. And the wild cards between Skyla and Ice and Bigbad, who came off of 2 amazing wins in the past 2 weeks, and we'll talk about his match this week, or last week I guess I should say, as he is the person we are interviewing this week, and then also against 27. Bacon is a differential away from being a wildcard spot, Zach is 1 game a game, and then those of us who have yet to win are 3 games away. And last but not least, in conclusion, what we've learned from these 5 weeks is that anything is possible. Read the rules before asking dumb questions, be nice to each other. Ozzy, coach of the Gainesville Greninjas, have you seen from the TISA, will be replacing Taco, coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and has a very good chance to make a Techno-like comeback. Techno coming from 0-2, now 3-2. According to Dash, every team still has a shot. Read the rules, read the announcements, don't be afraid to ask questions, but don't ask dumb questions. And right now, when this goes up in about 5 hours from now, my personal match against Zach, coach of the Atlanta Altarios, will be happening. So that's something to look forward to. Moving on to the TISA, week 3 is done. Thanks for Chengi, because Drampa had some personal issues, so Chengi came and almost crushed Ozzy's dreams in the process. 2 TISA members, or now it's going to be 1 due to the APA finals, but one of the matches will be featured, and that is Halo versus Brayden. For that shouldn't have happened. Week 4, you're facing peeps in your division. If the playoffs were today, Ozzy, Brayden, Inu, Sokka. Sokka because having more kills in games, and then wildcards being Commander Primer, Jayhawk, and Combat kicking out Bigbad as Inyu destroyed Bigbad, and then Bigbad took Inyu's plan and used it in Zastal and destroyed Jeet. TSA is going really well. I'm happy with it. Potentially will be, depending on if Josh or Goku decide to actually get their lives together. We do have 2 coaches in line to change. One of them I'm really excited to bring on. That is Mopman, coach of the Jacksonville Electivires. Moving on to IDL. The IDL draft is currently going on while I'm speaking. Your draft orders on your left. Vampire saying that, hey, the draft is going on is on your right. I personally have the 5th pick spot in between Levo and Corey, so that's like it's good for me because I draft completely different than them. It's bad for me because they could potentially take something, but with my draft plans, which I have to my right here, it's like my Zastal team. I mean, it's not the same Mons, but it's like my Zastal team. It's very underwhelming, but should prove to be really useful. Moving on to the APA, which we are adding the APA and the GSA to the leagues being covered, and those will hopefully come up next week or 2 weeks after that. This is from Panther. Everyone keep in mind that the draft is scheduled, and I believe the draft's going on right now while I'm doing this, because that was a long time ago. Slow draft in the APA. And speaking of the APA finals happened Monday, I believe. Yes, Monday, because I was asleep at that point. And we want to congratulate Hugo, coach, I believe Hugo. I just joined the APA to watch as the finals were about ready to happen. Coach of the Montreal Monfernos for being the champion of this season. Potentially we'll have him on next week. I don't know. But congratulations to him. Also, just a quick side note. There's a potential chance for a LeagueCenter Discord, just kind of to get things together and talk about cool ideas, do polls, etc. So if you're interested in that, comment down below. Invite you to the server. We can figure things out. So that is all for your news for this week. We're going to move on to your replays, which are some pretty awesome replays this week. And then I have the TISA and the Zastal because those are the 2 that I have to keep up personally. And then move on to the awesome interview with Bigbad. So without further ado, let's go to your replays. What's going on, guys? And here are your replays for the week. First up, we have the TISA Week 3 Season 2 match. This is Braden, coach of the Air Rock Tyrants, against Halonator, coach of the St. Louis Carvanas, and this is for the That Shouldn't Have Happened play of the week. And this goes to Halo as Savali Electrics in on Pelipper, but it's going to be a switch on the Clef Key to take the wheelchair. And parting shot on the Clef Key so that it can't really do anything. Switching the Guns N' Roses to take a Dazzling Gleam like nothing. Then it's going to be a switch going into Oblivious to not really take a Giga Drain, but to eat up a Giga Drain, and then a Hidden Power, I assume Electric or Rock, taking out there. And here comes Grass Clipper, going -1 attack, going to crit Brave Bird, taking out the Salamence, and stopping Braden from getting a 6-0, and that turned into getting a 4-0 loss for Halonator's side. That was the second main crit that happened. The first one was an Ancient Power that stopped Suicune from sweeping. Moving on to the Pee Your Pants game of the week. This is going to be the APA Season 5 finale. This is Hugo, coach of the Montreal Monfernos, against Point Blank, coach of the, I'm going to say, Winnipeg Blue Blastoise. And it came down to really close, looking like Point Blank was really having a tough time. As Mew's in against a Burnt Hydreigon, it's going to be a switch on Hugo's in to go into Togekiss here to take a Dark Pulse barely. And however, Scarfed Hydreigon going to take out the Togekiss and go down, as now it is just Beedrill, almost dead, going to eat up a Fake Out. And then this is where life goes bad for Point Blank, landing a high jump kick. That's only going to do 33, and a Will-O-Wisp going to burn Medicham, And high jump kick really just can't do a lot. And it's just going to be a stall fest. Waiting for the burn to happen. Another high jump kick. As finally knockoff happens. And almost down, taking out with a burn. That was a really close game, and congratulations to Hugo for being the Season 5 champion. Moving on to the Arceus play. That's going to go to myself, coach of the Sylveon KC, in the match in the Zastal Season 1 Week 5 match against Dash, coach of the Golden State War Turtles. Right off the bat, this was a really hyped game, and Shaman will show you why. So it's going to start off with Shaman, expecting a Seed Flare. Seed Flare is what's going to come. That's going to do a lot. Life Orb Shaman, put it in the work, almost taking out Espeon here, as Espeon's going to hit a Dazzling Gleam. That's going to do nothing. So it's going to be a switch into Charizard, not expecting hit a Power Rock, Okoing hit Mega Charizard Y, and that really changed the game. And now moving on to the Give Me a Broom game, and I'm very happy to say who this is. This is Bigbad, coach of the Melbourne Magnetons, facing off against Cheat, coach of the effing Garchomps. And Bigbad, who in the TISA lost 4-0 to Inu because of Como-O sweeping, is going to take that to his advantage. Snorlax is in on a Cresselia, as it's going to be a switch into Como-O here to take a crunch very nicely. It'll be a switch on Sheetsen to go into Delmise as Como-O is starting to set up. Going to use a Poison Jab. That doesn't do a whole lot, but it is going to poison Delmise. Power Whip's going to do a bit of damage. And then it's going to be another Dragon Dance on Bigbad's end and taking an Earthquake barely. And here it comes. Poison Jab taking out Delmise. Going to the Garchomp. Well, guess what? Garchomp does not outspeed. Barely living with Como-O there. Sky Uppercut taking out Snorlax. Here comes Infernape. Oh, another Dragon Claw with a crit. Boom, I don't really think the crit mattered. Como-O is a beast. Going to Sharpedo. Oh, there goes Sharpedo. And last but not least is going to be Tentacruel. Using a Dragon Claw and taking out Tentacruel, as Bigbad's going to pick up his first 6-0 of the season and his first 6-0 in his career. So that is all for your replays. You're going to see the weekly recap for the TISA and Zastal, and then moving on to the interview with Bigbad himself, talking about all three of the leagues that he's in that we cover. So, moving on to your recaps. What's going on, guys? Commander here for the second half of League Center, and as previously talked about throughout the first half of the video, the coach this week is a Zastal coach, a GSA coach, and a TISA coach. You have heard about him a lot because a lot of his replays have been on League Center. But this week it was for the 6-0 match against Cheat, and so we have Mr. Bigbad, coach of the Melbourne Magnetons. Say hello.
Hello, I am Bigbad. So yeah.
Just looking over all three of his teams. His Zastal team, where he's 2-3 plus 0. His GSA team, which he just took over, which he's 1-3 minus 1. And his TISA team, which he's 2-1 minus 1. So let's start with the awesome thing that happened Sunday, now that this is Wednesday. Zastal, talk about your match with Cheat before you talk about your drafts.
Well, yeah, so Cheat I'm always nervous about, because he's either really good or he'll just randomly be bad. So I think I got him on a bad day, but still, the prep with Komodo, because I knew it just swept at +2, regardless of Scarf or anything. So once I saw the Delmais in, I just started setting up and couldn't really do a whole lot. So I'm very happy. It's my first 6-0 ever in League, which is fun. Hopefully I can get a lot more.
And that put Bigbad he's the top ranked player in his conference that's not 4-1.
Yeah.
Everyone else is 4-1. There's one other person that's 2-3, and that's Ice, who Bigbad beat 5-0 last week. And
coming off a 0-3 start, which is never good, but
I'm still 0-5.
Sort of well.
In 5 hours from now, though, when this goes up 5 hours from now, I'm battling Zach. So hopefully I can change that around.
Oh, you should be able to.
So first, talk about your Zastel team, even though all three of your teams kind of has some of the same mons. But talk about your Zastel team first of Hitmonlee, Cresselia, Ferrothorn, Mega Blastoise, Tapu Koko, Diggersby, Slurpuff, Como-O, Volcarona, Gliscor, Mismagius, and Chansey, which this is a very big bad team.
Yeah, so first obviously I draft Hitmonlee because Master of Unburden has to draft the Unburden King of Pokemon. Ironically, I haven't brought him that much, but I do plan, I'm more saving him so I can shock people later on. But yeah, so that's why Hitmonlee's there. And then my defensive core, I always like Cress, just because it's fat and just sits there and is obnoxious. And then Ferrothorn, because it just is the same thing pretty much, and can set up rocks, set up spikes, gets utility like knock off and T-wave and stuff like that. But in terms of ULBA Season 1, which was my first league, I was very weak to rocks. So I decided to draft what I think is the best spinner in League, which is Mega Blastoise. And the past few weeks it's put in a lot of work. I think it took out 3 mons of ices and forced out Garchomp against cheat, which let me sweep with that. Which is, yeah. And then Komodo, because I just needed a dragon type really, and it was the best one there. Hadn't really used it before. I actually wanted Noivern, but that got sniped. But that's whatever. And then Gliscor, because I wanted to snipe Commander.
Yes, I was going to draft
Really?
Gliscor. So I took Shaman instead, and I'll take Shaman over Gliscor, because Shaman, as they saw in the replays, completely, utterly destroyed Charizard.
Oh yeah, it puts in a lot of work. A Shaman. I just, didn't really need the grass type, so Gliscor worked. And then next I drafted Chansey, which I sort of like, but it's hard to bring it because it's just set up fodder. Mm-hmm. As shown by my week 3, where I got 6-0'd by Cal. So yeah. And then my free agency pickups were Tapu Koko and Diggersby, which I traded for Xurkitree and Mamoswine. The reason I did that was because I needed the speed tiers, so people were forced to run Scarf against me, or were forced to put extra speed investment into mons they normally wouldn't. So that helps a lot. So I can outspeed a lot of Pokemon, and I don't need to worry as much in terms of scarfing my own. So that helps. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And Mismagius is just there because I needed a ghost type, and it's just there. That's pretty much it.
He is doing really well, by the way, if you couldn't tell. Not a whole lot of people in 2 weeks go 2-0 plus 11. And that's what Bigbad has done randomly all of a sudden.
Well, as he did it in TISA, didn't he? Went 12-0,
and
didn't
then
he?
he almost lost.
Oh, I saw that. That was hack central right there.
Moving on from...
That just shows he's good.
Yeah. They saw... Was that? Yeah. No, it wasn't. That was going to be one of the matches this week, but I'm like, nah. Ozzy's been shown enough. Moving on from Zastel, the GSA, which you took over for 27, and a very similar team, having also having now Tapu Koko, Volcarona, now having Vaporeon, Flagon, Trevenant, Licky Licky, Mega Gallade, Digger's B again, Empoleon, Reuniclus, which is like Reuniclus Clefable is like Bigbad Central, and then the one mon you have on all three teams, which is Slurpuff.
Yeah. I much prefer Reuniclus over Cress, which is something not a lot of people know, because I have swept a lot of people with Reuniclus because I have a great set with it. But it's hard to bring because it's really whittled down quite easily with the set I like to run on it because it's not Magic Guard. And it's just kind of weak-ish, but still a good mon. And then having picked it up from 27, it had a lot of Pokemon that I've never used before, such as Vaporeon, Flygon, Trevenant, Licky Licky, and Empoleon. Hadn't even touched any of them. So it's going to be good to learn a bunch of new Pokemon and what they can do. But as losing to Commander will show you, it's going to be difficult to get many wins because a lot of the teams are stacked in GSA.
Yeah. Talk about, because you have the Pokemon that has the most kills in the league, even though you just started. That's Mega Gallade. Talk about how you got Mega Gallade from Skyla.
Well, I personally have a hatred of Lopunny, Mega Lopunny, which is what the team originally had as 27 and owned it. But I have used Mega Gallade quite a lot in League. I've got it in 2 of my other leagues, I think, which is, helpful. And to be honest, I didn't think Skylar would accept it, but Tapu Lele, I guess, kind of convinced her, which was also on the team. And for the same reason as Zastel, I wanted a higher speed tier, which is why I wanted Coco from Sky as well. So it was just pretty much a straight up trade from there, which worked out for both of us.
That's good. And moving on to the last team, we'll look at your TISA team, which you're 2-1, -1. Slurpuff, Gastrodon, Jolteon, Darmanitan, Mega Heracross. Very late good picks, Latios and Clefable, Armaldo, Bisharp, and your last pick of Gliscor, and of course your mascotting of Hitmonlee. Do you want to talk about your Week 3 match where you kind of got swept by Inu, and then you use that to your advantage at Zastel?
Yeah, so with that, the plan, because I was obviously scared of Kamo because it's a beast. I kind of slept on it a bit. Like, I wasn't worried when it was at +2, even though nothing on my team could live anything from it at +2. I just kind of let it set up. When I had the counter of Clefable sitting right there, which could live a hit at +2, but then I was stupid enough to let it get to +3, which is a major problem because then Poison Jab Okos. But I used that disappointment to eventually be able to sweep cheat with it, and hopefully I won't lose many more matches in TISA. I've got a difficult match this week against Braden, I
Yeah,
think.
it's the battle of the Aussies.
Yeah. I am going to try my hardest. His team is very scary. Like, very scary. But I'm up for the challenge and hopefully I can win.
Well, if anyone can beat Braden, it's the same person in his time zone.
Yep.
So, thank you, Big Bad, for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you, and I'm sure we'll see you many, many more times as the weeks go on.
Yeah, thank you for having me here.
So, that is all. My name is Cmdr. I really hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like, comment down below, and we will see you again for next week.